Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Harrison Tippett Motorsport YouTube channel. We're just around the corner of the release of Drive to Survive for the 2025 season. This kind of recaps what happened, shows us a little bit of behind the scenes, and adds a bit of drama to the mix going in to the 2026 Formula 1 season. So let's kind of go over the episode titles, names, discuss what they could be about, and maybe see what might be revealed in them. First off, the first episode is called The New Kids on the Block. This is obviously about the F1 rookies for the year. There's at least 4 official rookies, with Colapinto and Lawson also joining kind of the rookie gang, I guess, which makes it 6. But let's probably start with the 4. So you have Kimi Antonelli, Geraint Bortoleto, Isaac Hadjar, and Jack Doohan. A lot of rookies, probably like the first time they've had a bunch of rookies since they had Norris, Russell, and who was the other one in that bunch? Oh, Albon, yeah, the trio. But yeah, you have the squad coming in now. Probably talk about how they come in, how they settled into life, how they kind of prepare for the season ahead. Unlike other seasons in the past, apart from that season with the 3 drivers I mentioned before, this is the first time they've kind of had a bunch of drivers all come in at the same time, which maybe gives them enough content to do a kind of introduction to the Formula One grid, new drivers for a whole episode, you know. So they'll probably focus on those guys, maybe feature some of new team bosses, changes, maybe. But yeah, I don't think they'll go too far into the season. Just introducing some of the new characters for their show, I guess. The second episode, though, strictly business. This is, I think, in relation to like their common saying, we're like, oh, it's no offense, it's just business, you know, it's just strictly business. I think this relates to Red Bull dropping Lawson and Doohan being dropped by Alpine for Colapinto. Both of them are strictly business, you know. They were moves that probably should have waited, but weren't postponed because of business reasons. You know, you had Tsunoda's backing and Honda saying, "Hey, get a guy in a seat. Come on," and then you had Colapinto's backing and saying, "Hey, get a guy in a seat." So a lot of business reasons for the switches. They probably go into the ruthlessness of Formula One and the outcomes of that whole switcheroo. The third episode, though, is called The Number One Problem. And this is almost definitely kind of figuring out who is the number one driver at McLaren. The papaya rules, per se. There were a lot of collisions, thinking back to Canada, where these drivers were competing for the title, and there wasn't a real clear favourite, you know. Piastri still wasn't that far ahead, going into like the early to mid part of the season. So yeah, it'll be a lot of a McLaren episode. If you don't like McLaren, probably skip that one. If you do, have a watch. It'll probably be quite interesting. I think McLaren give quite a lot of behind the scenes access, so I'd be intrigued how much Zach Brown gives the audience. He's quite a showman, so yeah, I think it'll be quite a good episode for the kind of F1 insider. But yeah, I think it will kind of progress the narrative that will roll throughout 3 or 4 of these episodes around the title fight between McLaren and also Max Verstappen. And that leads us into the next episode, which is called A Bull with No Horns, which probably states around how Christian Horner was sacked around the British Grand Prix, with Lauren Mackey stepping up. So big change mid-season for a team boss who kind of built that team from the ground up. So we know that Christian Horner gives a lot of insider information to this program, to Drive to Survive, and he'll likely go at it again with a lot of reasons, and then probably say like, "I'll be back," you know, watch the space at the end, because he'll probably be back in some form. They probably won't go into his lodge for new teams, trying to join team as a team boss in some different areas, like he's connected to Aston Martin, etc., and at Alpine. But they'll probably keep it to what happened within the season. Then yeah, the sky's the limit, and this was a year where 4 drivers got unexpected podiums. You know, you had unexpected but surprising podiums. You had Antonelli and Hadjar, both get podiums. Antonelli in the Mercedes, so not that surprising, but still very young driver doing good things. Hadjar in that red Racing Bulls, impressing. Like there was a bit towards like around Azerbaijan where the Racing Bulls looked imperious. Both Liam and Hadjar got a lot out of it. Then you had Carlos Sainz in the Williams, also having a couple of good races. He wasn't consistent throughout the season, but he had 2 races at least where he was amazing and got those 2 podiums. Then you had Hulkenberg's podium at the British Grand Prix, which I think will probably be the kind of crux of the episode because he waited so long for it. You know, he was the driver that had raced the most races without getting a podium. No longer is he that. So yeah, I think it will kind of culminate with him on the British Grand Prix podium with all the other drivers celebrating him because it was a kind of celebratory moment for the grid. Then you have the duel. I think this kind of sets up the next 3 episodes. The last episodes, I believe, will be on the title fight specifically. The duel will be about mid to late season where Piastri is creeping ahead and then gets caught back up with Norris and Verstappen both winning. I think in the 5-race span, they won all of them together. So there wasn't like a Piastri one in there. So it'll be them clawing him back into the mix with Norris and Verstappen, obviously with Norris kind of creeping ahead again. So yeah, I think that will kind of lead us into the last 4 or 5 races with the Vegas race kind of having its own Vegas-y episode in what happens with Vegas. Adequately titled, I believe. Yeah, big moment. Both McLaren drivers got DNF'd from that race because of, I think it was ride height or something, or like plank wear. But a big mistake from the McLaren boys and the McLaren team to allow that wear to get to that much, where Verstappen kind of creeped back into the fight. And actually, we all remember back to Abu Dhabi, he had a good chance, you know. Then the last episode, I think, Kumisaki, this will be about the last 2 or 3 Grand Prix, where Max still claws back a little bit at Qatar, like we saw, and then culminating with the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, where, like I mentioned, Norris wins the championship, but maybe a little bit, quite a lot of the episode I reckon will be about him winning it, and after him winning it, how that celebration looks, what he does. It's his first title. He's very much favoured in the British media. So as Netflix are probably English speaking, I think they were pretty inclined to go towards celebrating him instead of what we saw with Max, where it was more of a, oh, this is outrageous. You know, he won over Hamilton, and that's why he won 1 season for his first win. So yeah, I think it would be about Max chasing them down, as it's called, Call Me Chucky. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments below. If I'm correct about all these episodes, of course, we'll know on Thursday evening, Friday morning, whether I'm right or not. So yeah. Also, let me know what you think about Drive to 5 in general down in the comments below. Do you like it? I know this channel is mostly centered around Formula 2, Formula 3. You have their kind of the like road to the F1 on their YouTube channel. What do you think of that? Should F1 consider doing a Drive to Survive for Formula 2 and Formula 3, and maybe Formula Academy? Who knows? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thanks for watching as always. Peace.